So I just left the Snow White movie. And there's a lot I need to say. So, as a fan of the original movie, one of the rare people, I guess, that is a fan of the original movie, I looked past my better judgment on going to see this movie. I'd, of course, seen all of the controversy over the last year and a half. And up until like last week, I wasn't going to go see it. But the little girl in me who loved Snow White really wanted to give it an opportunity to prove me wrong. And then I'd seen some reviews come through that were saying, oh, it's actually really good, it's cute. And so I went and gave it a chance. So let's start with the pros. Visually, the scenes of the movie were really well done. The cottage was very reminiscent of the original film. The details in the cottage were really cute. The animals I thought were well done. They were CGI, but I thought they were pretty on par with how Lion King and all of the other live actions that have had animals in them are. So that was on par with what I expected. The singing, Rachel Zegler is a great singer. We knew that already going into this film. Do I think that she was a singer for the character of Snow White? That's where we can debate. But overall, the songs were really well done, and her portrayal of the character that they'd made her into was well done. But going into the cons, my biggest problem with this film overall is that it gave you kind of a glimpse of the old original movie, and those scenes that they did were really good. Like, Hi-Ho was cute, or like her singing Whistle While You Work. Those scenes were it felt like the original movie, and they were well done. So it gave you like a little peek of what they could have done with the overall film, but it just felt very like, oh, we almost gave it to you, but let's change the whole thing. So that kind of hurt me more. Like, I would have preferred, if they were going to change it, just change the whole thing. And then at least we could have said it was a different movie. But what they did was they put scenes that were from the original movie, but then they distorted the rest of it. And that's where my heart as a original Snow White fan was kind of like, okay, this is kind of sad, because you could have done what the fans had wanted, but you didn't. So let's address the elephant in the room. The dwarves were horribly done as far as CGI goes. Now, that in and of itself, after the initial jump scare, did grow on me by the end of the movie. Like, it didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to, but they definitely put less effort into that. It was kind of embarrassing for Disney, because they have the skill and the ability to do better than what they did. And I can't really defend that they just made them look like that. It was very much, somebody else on TikTok had said that it was very similar to the elves in Polar Express, and that's exactly what I would say it is. Gal Gadot is stunning. She's always been stunning. But she's not a good actress in this movie, at least. Let's say that. It did not work. What she was giving was not what we wanted. If she had not had any lines and she had just looked the part, she was the evil queen. I could get why they initially cast her. She very much looked like the evil queen, stepped into real life. But it was hard watching her lines and the two songs that she had in the movie, especially compared to Rachel Zegler, who can sing. Seeing Gal Gadot sing was not it. It was not it. So I don't want to go too far into spoilers, but what they did with the Prince arc really gutted me. It was not what I wanted. It was not giving anything like what I expected. Like, I knew they were going to change that storyline. Rachel Zegler made that very clear in her controversial interviews that she had done about it, but I really still expected there to be some level of, I don't know, more chemistry or more pull or something like that, and they just butchered that whole arc, which is ironic, because they ultimately still needed that guy's role for the overall storyline in the end. Like, they didn't change that portion, if you know what I mean. So changing him in any other way didn't make sense, really. It didn't serve the point that they were trying to serve, because it's still she still needed him to save her at the end of the day. So.
Antidote. True love's kiss.
And that kind of brings me to my final point, which is there's nothing wrong with having a strong female character, and I understand the need to incorporate that in future films for girls to kind of look up to. But for Snow White to be the original film, the one that set the bar for Disney, that kicked everything off for Disney, they needed to give it more respect than they gave it. That's just my opinion. If they had no intention of keeping to the original storyline, they shouldn't have touched it, and they should have just done a different movie. Because if it wasn't for Snow White, like it or hate it, there wouldn't be the Disney that there is today. And I think that they rushed this film despite having it delayed and despite all of the critic feedback that they were getting. I honestly think they should have just pulled it. I kind of went off track, so back to my point. There was nothing wrong with the characteristics of the original Snow White, with her being very just kind and genuine, but still very much in her femininity, and she didn't have to be this girl boss. She didn't have to go save the whole town. She just needed to be kind to those around her. And she did dream of true love. She did dream of having a prince come and rescue her. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And I think that we have a lot of other examples of other strong characters that girls can look up to. So if you were going to touch this movie, we could have kept the original theme of the film, because there's nothing wrong with a girl wanting to fall in love and to find somebody who's going to quote unquote rescue them. To force a character that was not intended to be this powerhouse singer, or not intended to be the one who goes and saves the village, into that role, I think butchered her and didn't do her homage. So that's my feedback. I am glad I still saw it. I've always gone and seen all of the Disney movies at the theater, so I am glad that I did that. And, you know, if I was an unbiased kid, I don't think that there was anything necessarily wrong with the film. It was, you know, colorful. It was lots of loud music and fun. But just knowing what the original story gave, and to see it kind of butchered in this way, and then also not executed well as far as the CGI, as far as the acting, as far as the singing could have been on other characters' parts. That's where my heart is broken over it. So I will definitely still be a fan of the original film, but I would likely not watch this one again, even when it's on Disney Plus. So take that as you will. You know, I always say form your own opinions, but this one is hard for me to make. So